Hey, this is a reply to RMedi1 or Remedy1, however you want to say it. I'm not sure, but I, I understand your skepticism about lucid dreaming. If you haven't experienced it yourself, it could be tough to tough to swallow. But it's not really clear how exactly how your reasoning is progressing here. And I'll give you a few examples because it's unclear in several different facets. It's not just your reasoning is unclear, but the whole thing is just totally confounded um, and confounding. But let me try to just sort out some threads here. First of all, you've got a bit of hypocrisy going on here. You're saying that people who are responding to you, their arguments are not valid because they just know. Since they just know, that's my imitation. Take it as flattery. Since they just know, then they're wrong. Then then it can't be right. And I agree. I agree. Just knowing isn't a really great way to go about uh, convincing someone of your point when they don't know, when they have not experienced it. But of course, and I noticed that you like to use the term inherently. It's inherently. You've used it a couple times out your past few videos. I don't understand what that means. I wish you could elaborate on, because I just don't know what inherently dangerous, or inherently something means. I think it's just a cop out, a catch-all term for I want you to believe me. It's implicitly embedded in there. But but it's really interesting is that you say that you, and then you just go directly to say that you just know. I mean, you basically use the exact same wording. You say, I just know, I just sense it, that these people, they sound religious. I want something empirical. Okay, so you see that the problem here is that you're saying that their argument is that they just know, and then you know the reason your explanation for how you come to interpret this is that you just know. You just know that something in the way, inherently in the way that they're arguing, that they're religious, and that immediately discounts their arguments. Well, I guess I would agree with you on some level that it does discount their arguments, but your argument is just as much confounded by this. You're using the same exact argument technique. You need to step back and look at the way that you're arguing. It's not very effective. Okay, so second of all, it doesn't seem like you've really, this is the second point, it doesn't seem like you really looked into the literature at all. It seems like you looked at some chat rooms and you read some related neuroscience articles, but not related to this. I don't understand how that helps at all. I don't understand how reading related articles in neuroscience could help you at all with lucid dreaming, which is strictly an experiential phenomenon. This is what we want to know. Your question is, do they really have control? Do they have control or free will during dreaming? Well, your argument is that I think, if I understand it correctly, is that it's just an illusion of control. And you said something about, and if we accept that they have control during their dreams, during lucid dreaming, then we create all kinds of problems for philosophical issues such as solipsism and free will or something. I don't know. You had some a series of arguments that you said that this would make very problematic. Well, first of all, I don't understand how that's an argument at all. Just because an issue makes it difficult for us to resolve other issues in philosophy doesn't mean that since this would make since lucid dreaming would make it totally incomprehensible as to how we would then have free will and how we would solve solipsism. Then it can't be. Well, first of all, I don't know if that really follows, and second of all, I don't think that's a very good argument. If something challenges the idea, if something challenges our ideas about reality, then we don't just write it off and say, oh well, that's no good, because then all of our day-to-day concepts wouldn't work. That again doesn't make any sense. I mean, you have to follow the facts wherever they go and try to give them the best interpretations that you can, meaning that there's not going to just be one interpretation that's going to be the end-all, be-all. You're never really going to get perfect agreement necessarily on any interpretation of anything, especially experience. Okay, so third, so that's I think that's what I wanted to cover there. Third, it's not really clear what your criteria would be for being convinced about lucid dreaming. You say that they're just having the illusion of free will, but that would mean, if they do claim to have a sense of agency, a sense of free will, a sense of control in their dreams, and you have a sense of control in this, your physical coupling to the environment, that would mean that you would have to say that this is all an illusion, that any kind of control that I'm having now is an illusion. I don't see how you could get around that. All these arguments about whether free will is just an illusion or whether it's not an illusion, whether it's a fact. How do you possibly get to a point where you can convince other people that they're actually not in control of their actions when they say, okay, in 30 seconds I'm going to lift my arm. 30 seconds pass and they go, yeah, and they did it. They really, they took control and said, they predicted their own action and then fulfilled that prediction. This idea that free will is just an illusion is I think it's a bad way of looking at it. It's a metaphysical concept. We really need to be looking at is the phenomenological experience of control. Now, as someone who just took a nap about an hour ago and had a lucid dream, I can tell you that phenomenologically, looking at it from the perspective of Edmund Husserl, this is the book. It's called The Essential Husserl. I think it's a great introduction to the essential aspects of his work in a collection, one book. The phenomenological sense of agency, that I am in control, that I have free will, that I am the one that's moving my hand, in this, I have control over it. This comes from what he calls protension. It's a sense that we just have the sense of what's going to happen in the future. It's a very implicit, baseline sense of anticipation. Not explicit, not explicitly thinking about what's going to happen, but just a sense that we're sort of flowing, if you want to use that metaphor, into the future. It's very embodied and totally. It's a phenomenal thing. Sean Gallagher is a researcher, if you want some empirical proof, who's done research on phantom limb syndrome, but he's done it on, what has he done? Alien hand syndrome, where people, or schizophrenia, where people have involuntary hand movements, and they don't have a sense of control, a sense of agency. It's kind of like when you're in a dream, kind of. But what you're talking about is that they have an illusion of a sense of control. And the way we can look at this empirically is say that the people who lose their motor control with their hand, they're schizophrenics, and they say that they have a sense of agency, but in other times their hand starts moving, and all they have is the sense of ownership. They say, "Oh, my hand is moving," but it's not I. It is not I who am moving the hand. I'm not responsible for these movements. I have no sense of anticipation. I have no sense of knowing what's going to happen in the next moment, as I normally do when I'm gesturing or moving my hand, etc., etc. When I'm hammering, whatever I'm doing. So the fact is that when you have lucid dreaming going on, you have a sense of that you have this is a bad way to put it. You have goal-directed. That's a bad way to put it. You have goal-directed movements, and you say, "I want to do something." You know that you want to do it, so you not only have a sense of ownership that you are doing it, but it's I who am doing it, and you go and you do it, and it's really real. Whether it's an illusion or not is, it's irrelevant. You have a sense of agency. You can really pre-plan things, and there are scientific experiments showing that people can do this.